So here we go again, the last chapter in the CCNA 1, build a small network. So we are done on the discussing of protocols in each layers, OSI and TCP model. So here we will apply it on building the small network in a network. Okay. Did you notice small network topologies? Typical small business network. Okay. So majority of business are small, so it's not surprising that the majority of networks are also small. So small network, so both small network is also the same with requires many of the same skill as those required for managing a larger one. Okay. So design. So number of type devices. Designs in with small networks, design of the network is usually simple. Okay. So the majority of work is focused on maintenance and troubleshooting of existing equipment as well as securing devices and information on the network. Okay. Typical small business network. Okay. Device selection for small network. Okay, we have different factors to be considered. So first one is the cost of technologies, our devices, labor, speed and types of ports and interfaces. We also need to consider it, the speed of this. Then the expandable or modular. So if it's if our switches are, for example, if our switches are expandable, so, or we can have slots for extension of ports or interfaces. Then also the manageable, okay, operating system features and services. Okay, so it depends on the version of our OS that support these features. So security, TOS, layer 3 switching, VoIP, and DHCP. IP addressing for small network. Okay, we have different way of addressing. We also for also the different factors in our IP design. So in device for users, so typically it is dynamically assigned servers and peripherals. Servers and peripherals, so commonly it is statically defined, manually assigned. Hosts that are accessible from the internet, intermediary devices. So you need to consider that. IPv4 addresses and plan. Also for easy access, so we must plan and document the IP addressing scheme. Redundancy in small network. Okay, so sometimes we need the redundancy in our network to prevent failure. So even one device failed, we have links or another paths to continue our operation in the network. Traffic management. Okay, so this traffic management is all for prioritizing traffic. So they prioritize voice. So the highest priority is voice and video calls. The SMTP, so I think this is it for email. The instant messaging and FTP, so the lowest priority. Common applications. What is this? Okay, we also use some applications in our network. So there are two forms of software programs or processes that provide access to the network: network applications and application layer services. We have the network applications. So for example, we have our web browsers, our Google Chrome. So they help us to access the network. And application layer services, so these are some of the applications that are not typically seen or used. No, we cannot seen often. Okay, but they are there to connect us to or access us to internet or network. Common protocols. Okay, we have protocols. Some common protocols. Also, the essentials one in our application layer. We have the DNS server for name translation to addresses, the SSC server for remote connection, email server for sending emails, obviously, DHCP for assigning addresses, web server for communicating between the web clients and web servers, and FTP for transferring, uploading, downloading files to the network client. Okay, voice and video applications. The administrator must ensure the proper equipment is installed in the network and the network devices are configured to ensure priority delivery. Okay. So when using voice and video applications, so network administrator must know that we must prioritize this kind of traffic. Okay, so these are some of the elements of small networks that support real-time applications. Okay, so IP phones, cable switch, and Cisco Unified Communications 500 series. Okay. Small network growth. Okay, growth is a natural process for many small businesses. So administrator has enough lead time to make intelligent decisions about growing the network in line with the growth of company. Okay, to scale a network, several elements are required. Okay, so our documentation, network documentation, the devices, okay, the budget also, and traffic analysis. Okay, so these are the several elements in the network. Protocol analysis. Okay, we also need this to determine how to manage our traffic. So which traffic will be our prioritized. We need a prioritization. So for us to avoid some traffic delays. Software processors. Processors are individual software programs running currently. So we have applications, services, system operations, and one program may be running separately. Okay, wait. Employee network utilization. So, network administrator must also be aware of how network use is changing. So, showing the figure, a small network administrator has the ability to obtain snapshots of employee applications utilization for a significant portion of employee workforce over time. Okay, so these snapshots to this one. Okay, so it may lead to network administrator of evolving protocol requirements and associated traffic flows. Okay, so these snapshots may help the administrator for evolving or a shift in resource utilization. Okay. Also for adjusting network resource allocations accordingly. Types of threats. Okay. We have it is applicable for wired or wireless network, so like information theft, data loss and manipulations, identity theft, disruption of service. So information theft. Nagbibidyo ako ha. Baka maging dito. Ba't nakakapag-tablet na siya?
Alam nga.
Sino nagpaano?
Nagpaano ko na.
So information theft, it is breaking of computer to obtain confidential information. So for example is stealing an organization's proprietary information such as research and development information. Also have the data loss and manipulation. So for example have it's breaking into a computer to destroy or alter data records. So sending a virus for that reformat sa computer hard drive, and data manipulation is changing information in the record system. So identity theft is identity is stolen by the taking over someone's identity for applying for credit, obtain legal documents, unauthorized online purchases. The disruption of service is so preventing users from accessing services to which they should be entitled. So DOS, those attacks. So these are some of the physical security. We have 4 classes of physical threats. First one is the hardware threats. So physical damage to our devices. Environment threats. So it's related to environmental condition. Electrical threats and maintenance threats. So poor handling of key electrical components of our devices or devices. Types of vulnerabilities. We have technological configuration, so unsecured user accounts, so all on misconfigured or unsecured. Also the security policy, so lack of written security policy. There is no policy on the network or a company. Security threats and vulnerabilities. Altering data records, sending a virus to format. Stealing, overloading a network, disrupting service. Hardware is labor critical cables and components. Control access to control ports. Security cameras. Types of malware. So it is malware or malicious code is short for malicious software. Doon na kayo sa baba. Alex, please. Alex, sa baba na kayo. Okay, baba na din ikaw. Ha?
Kita ko ang lyrics. Kita ko ang lyrics na.
So it is a code or software that is specifically designed to damage, disrupt, steal, or inflict bad or legitimate action on the host or networks. Okay, some types of malware is viruses, inserting a copy of itself and becoming part of another program. Okay, it spreads from one computer to another, leaving infections at its travels. Also worms, so it's type of similar to viruses, so they replicate functional copies of themselves and can cause the same type of damage. Okay. Then also Trojan horses. It is a powerful piece of software that looks legitimate to users. Okay. Trojan horses. Reconnaissance attack, or discovery of mapping of systems, access attacks, unauthorized manipulation of data, system access or user privilege, and denial service, so corruption or corrupting of accessing the network. Just internet queries. Okay, so it's type of reconnaissance attack. This is some type of whois .NET. So through this, the hacker may know some of information of a server. Ping sweep. Port scans. Scanning the port, open SSH, and map ports, packet snippers. Like Wireshark. Okay. So we will be using Wireshark. We will be learning Wireshark. We will do the Wireshark activities. I love attacks. So access attacks. So these attacks exploit known vulnerabilities in authentication services. So some of the services like FTP and web services. So it allows an individual to gain unauthorized access to information that they have no right to view. So it can be classified into 4 types. So first one is the password attack. So attackers can implement password attacks using several different methods. So brute force attacks are using Trojan horse and packet sniffers. Trust exploitation, so accessing some system that trust another system. Port redirection, man in the middle attack. They're communicating between clients and another client. Okay, so it is positioned in the middle. So accessing their conversation. Those attacks, okay, so disrupting the access to a network. So commonly for in a web page. Those attacks take many forms. So they prevent authorized people from using a service by consuming system resources. Those attack, of death, SYN flood, synchronized flood. Okay. So web server waits to complete the three-way handshake. Now the valid user or legitimate users sends a SYN request. Now the web server is unavailable. The DOS attack, okay, they have specific victim. So the attacker holds many zombies or agents and devices. Also Smurf attack. So they're using a broadcast message in the network. Types of attacks. What are virus? Yeah. Conditions yata. Virus ko ito. Conditions. Access. Still incorrect. Failed to apply security updates to this computer for now 60 days. Operating slowly. A worm. High amount of malicious packets. Okay, so we have worm. We have Jeremiah was browsing internet. Free program to cleaning systems. We have virus. Access. Let's find photo folder. Okay, Ariana noticed that her laptop camera was active. We have Trojan horse. Response of sending a large number of manifold. So access. Access. So they have simple password file, unsecured password. Then this is denial service. Backup upgrade, update and patch. Okay, so we're just updating our applications for most to mitigate threats or network attacks. Okay, the AAA authorization, AAA authentication, authorization and accounting. So it is provides the primary framework to set up access control on a network device. It's just it controls who is permitted to access the network, what they can do while they are there, and what actions they perform while accessing the network. So these are so we discussed this on CCNA 2. The concept of AAA also. So firewalls. So we use firewall for securing devices. So some of the devices: Cisco security appliance, server-based firewall, the wireless broadband router. These are also used for firewalls and personal firewall. The firewall products use various techniques for determining what is permitted or denied access to a network. We have packet filtering, application filtering, prevents some of the application types based on port numbers. URL filtering, so blocks or prevents from the based on the specific URL and stateful packet inspection. Endpoint security. Okay, so securing our end devices. Securing endpoint devices is one of the most challenging jobs of a network administrator because it involves human nature. So we just need to secure our devices, laptops, cell phones, desktop. So we use some updated antivirus or firewalls. Locking down your router. So what is this? Also configuring some configuring the router for the values. So some of the security settings are set to default values. So this level of security is inadequate, so we must configure it. So username, passwords. So access to system resources should be restricted to only the individuals that are authorized to use. Okay, so unnecessary service application should be turned off and uninstalled. So passwords. Okay. Some of the guidelines for password. So weak password and strong passwords. Basic security practices. Okay, so encrypting our password, configured password, for example in a router, we use the service password encryption. So it converts our password in plain text into encrypted. Security password main length. What is this? Okay, so minimum length for password. Security password main length of 8. Also blocking if there are wrong passwords, wrong login attempts, it will block for 120 seconds. If there are 3 failed login attempts within 60 seconds, so this is login block for 120 attempts, 3 within 60. Then exec timeout. So it's used for what is this? So this automatically disconnect users on a line after they have been idle for the duration of the exec timeout value. Okay, so they will be disconnected after 10 minutes of idle. Enable SSH. Okay. So we prefer SSH over Telnet because it's secure. So we set SSH for remote connection. Step 1. Okay. So for configuring SSH, step 1 is when we set the domain name for our network. Generate one-way secret keys. Crypto key generate the RSA keys. So with 1024 bits, no. Verify and or create a local database entry. So we set our username and password and enable VTY inbound SSH. Enabling our connection through entering the login local and transport input SSH for SSH only connection. Patcher 0 Wireshark. Interpreting ping results. Okay, so it's an effective way of to test connectivity. What's this? So the ping command will not always pinpoint the nature of a problem, but it can help to identify the source of the problem. Okay, if we can't get a reply, so something is wrong with the connection. We also have iOS ping indicators, so the exclamation mark so indicates receipt of an ICMP echo reply. The dot is the time expired, and U is unreachable. Extended ping, so an extended ping, so we don't use a destination address, but it is entered in a privileged exec mode, but a series of prompts are then presented. So if you hit enter, so you agree with the some of the so accept the indicated default values, pressing enter. Target IP address 192.168.10.1. We have this network baseline. Okay, so comparing running the same test in different time. So comparing if there are changes in the performance of our network. So in the example, we took a screenshot. So in different time, February 8 and March 17, as you can see, they have increase in time, some of delays. Interpreting trace messages, we use tracert and traceroute for tracert for desktop CMD on the Windows, and traceroute for the router. So it's tracing the path on the or list of hops as packet is routed through a network. So which route it took, or route. Extended trace route. Okay, so we also have some of the parameters. If we like the ping command, we don't enter the destination address. So some of the parameters are prompted. Packet tracer. Show commands revisited. Okay, we have some most commonly show commands: show running config, show interfaces, show ARP, show IP route, show protocols, and show version. Show running config, it displays our running configuration. Show interfaces, so I think this is the layer 1 and layer 2 information. No. That also includes the internet address. Show ARP, so our ARP table, so our IP address map to its MAC address. Show IP route, so our directly connected networks or remote networks. Our route to other networks in our router. Show protocols. So it displays some of the protocols if it's down or the status is also down. Then the version of the iOS. Show version. ipconfig command. Okay, we use this too. And now Windows computer, it displays our IP address, subnet mask, and default gateway. ipconfig /all, so our MAC address, its physical address, the address for the HCP and DNS. So the ipconfig / display DNS. So it displays our information on our DNS server. The ARP command. Okay, we use this to display our ARP cache, ARP-A. So it is on our Windows computer. Show CDP neighbors command. Okay, it's used for obtaining information on our neighboring devices. We use the show CDP neighbors detail. So it reveals the IP address, but the CDP neighbors is a risk. It's also a risk in providing useful network infrastructure information to attackers. So it's also vulnerable to attacks. So we can disable the CDP by no CDP run in a global configuration, and then no CDP enable for a specific interface. Show IP interface brief command. Okay, so it displays some brief information on. Okay, so it's in the interface, the assigned IP address to the interface, the status and protocol. Show commands, activity show commands. You have suspect there's a problem with current switch configuration to show startup. You want to see the save configuration. Okay. Switch iOS name, RAM and NVRAM. Show version. Running ERGP protocol. Show IP protocols. Let's see. You cannot get to the internet. You need to find out if your router has a path to the internet. Show IP route. Quick listing of IP address of your routers in relation to their MAC address. Show ARP. 24 ports. Okay, show IP interface. The debug commands. Okay. So it allows for allows the administrator to display these messages in real time for analysis. So the debug command. So by default it is not displayed. Okay. We can also use to disable this by undebug all. The debug command is used to troubleshoot specific problems. So for example, debug IP ICMP. So it will just debug the ICMP. So some debug commands such as debug all and debug IP packet generate a substantial amount of output and use a large portion of system resources. So this is not recommended. No. Terminal monitor command. What is this one? Terminal monitor is used to display log messages. The terminal monitor. Debug IP ICMP, debug and debug all. Okay. Ping then and debug all. Sorry. basic troubleshooting approaches. Okay, so the 6 steps of troubleshooting methodology. First one is the identify problem, then establish a theory of probable causes. Step 3 is test the theory to determine cause. 4 is establishing a plan of action. 5 is for verification of the function of the system, and 6 is documentation. Resolve or escalate. Okay, so in some situations, so it may not be possible to resolve the problem immediately, so we need to escalate the problem to our higher positions. So if there are requires some manager's decision. Hindi ko lang po alam. So the manager may have to escalate the problem again, as it may require the financial department's approval. So escalating the problem. Verify monitor solution. Okay, so it is for verify the, so if our connectivity is back, if we after troubleshooting, we need to verify it. So using ping, trace route, and show commands. Order of troubleshooting steps. Okay. Identify the problem. Test the theory to determine cause. No. Establish a theory of probable cause. Test the theory. Establish a plan of action. Document findings and verify procedure. Duplex operation. Okay. So our devices must have the same configuration for duplex configuration, duplex negotiation. So both ends should be working on full duplex. So if they're working on half duplex, so both must be configured to half duplex. Duplex mismatch. Okay, it commonly happens if there are, so one of the ports is operating in full duplex and on the other end is half duplex. IP addressing issues on iOS devices. Okay, so you must have assign addresses correctly, no? So IP interface command. Okay, so some show commands can verify the IP address that we configured, no? IP addressing issues on end devices. Okay, so Windows-based machines, when the device can contact a DHCP server, so it will automatically assign an address belonging to this range, also /16. So think of it as Windows saying, I will use this address from this range because I could not get any other address more often than not a computer would not be able to communicate with other devices in the network. Okay, so that is a problem. So most of the device must not automatically assign a v4 address if they cannot contact the DHCP server. Okay. Default gateway issues. Okay, so we must configure the default gateway address correctly because it connects us to or access us to remote networks. So if we misconfigure the default gateway, we cannot communicate to other networks, so possibly in the internet. Troubleshooting DNS issues. Okay, we also have some is that. Okay, so it is common for users to mistakenly relate the operation of an internet link to the availability of DNS servers. So sometimes if we can translate, if we can access the DNS service, so some of the user complaints such as the network is down or the internet is down. So that it's not the case, you know. So we just can contact our DNS server. So it does not mean that we have no internet connection. We have no internet connection. Path tracers. So I think that's all for. So before you go, so just congratulating us for finishing the course. It's my first time seeing it. Build a small network. That's it.